All right, in this video, you'll probably notice I'm at Heritage Park in Calgary, which is an awesome place. And if you've never been here, definitely come here in the summer. It's amazing. But this video is guaranteed towards first-time home buyers. And I promise you, if you watch this video in its entirety, I'm going to teach you some things that every first-time buyer should know, and it'll help you because I have helped a lot of first-time home buyers in my career successfully buy a property in Calgary. All right, the first thing in starting your home buyer process is you're probably like everybody else, is you're just starting by going online and just seeing what's available, taking a look at what homes are for sale. You're probably on realtor.ca, for example, and just getting a sense of how much properties cost, taking a look at the neighborhood that maybe you want to live in, get a feel for the areas around the city that you like. But most people just start by just looking at stuff online. But the truth is, if you're doing this the first time, and believe me, I know because it was a long time ago, but I was a first-time buyer in Calgary at one time. And I remember feeling just a little bit overwhelmed at wanting to know what to look for, what kind of questions I should ask, what types of properties I should be considering buying, what would be considered overpriced. I had a lot of fears, and I'm sure you're faced with the same things. And going online is very helpful to start, but it's not where you want to necessarily finish. Remember, online is a good resource, but online is not going to teach you everything about how to buy a home successfully. Okay, step 2 is don't make the mistake that a lot of other people do make when they're buying their first home. And I'll tell you what the mistake is. When they go online, they get a sense of what's available, and then what can happen, and this actually happens all the time, is you see something that you like. And you're like, oh my goodness, look at that property. It's actually in the area we like. It's the kind of property we like. It's in the price range we like. Maybe we should go see it. And so you then go to whoever has the property listed, and you think, all right, I'll just reach out to them and we'll just go and see it and see what we think. And you have no idea what might happen next, because the craziest thing could happen is you walk in and you actually really like it and you want to buy it. And now you don't even know what to do next. And you are dealing with the agent that's holding the listing, and there's things about that relationship that you need to know. It's very important for you to understand. So let's talk about the next phase of this, and that is relationships with the real estate agent. So when a seller is selling their property, of course they're looking to hire a real estate agent to hire them to sell it. And I want you to understand something. The job of the seller's realtor is to do what the seller most wants them to do, which is very obvious. Most sellers, they want to sell their property for the highest price, right? Well, who wouldn't? So to sell a property for the highest price, they've hired their agent to showcase the property in its best. It's like telling all the wonderful things about the property, but not necessarily highlighting anything that's negative. Now, don't get me wrong, some negative things are mandatory to disclose, such as what we call a material latent defect. Okay, now that is a defect that would have expensive to fix. If there was some kind of say for example, the roof was leaking water, or there was a foundation issue, something costly to fix, or something that could be a health hazard like mold. These are material latent defects. But there are many other defects or many other negatives about the property that the listing agent is not going to tell you, and nor should they, because number one, they don't have to. So the seller doesn't want their agent to do that, because of course it could affect your willingness to pay more for the property. Now you're starting to understand why it's important to have somebody that's representing you and guiding you, so that there's someone there to showcase the positives and the negatives of the property. All right, what to look for in a property. Well, there's lots of things to look for. I'm going to highlight some of them. I can't highlight all of them in this video, or this video would go on a long time. But there are negative things like poly B piping that is a concern for many buyers, and it's not a material latent defect, but that's something that you should be aware of. Say wooden foundations, there's a little bit of a stigma with that. There's the location of the property. Sometimes properties are located in areas that don't necessarily bring the highest resale value. Sometimes it's just as simple as the floor plan. It's a floor plan it might work for you, but it might not work for a lot of other people. So it could affect the value down the road when you go to sell it. Of course, there's the other concerns of just some of the maintenance of the property, or maybe some things that need to be repaired. We want to take a look at those things too. Now, of course, you can get an inspection, and we do recommend that buyers do get inspections on properties. And the inspector is there to try to highlight some of the maintenance of the property, make you aware, for example, if the roof only has 5 years left, or maybe the furnace is old. There's these things that you should be aware of when you're making your decision. But as a real estate agent, the most important thing I can do for you is to make sure the property also has resale value in the future. So it's a very saleable property. And even though a house could check out, structurally, and the roof, the furnace, the hot water tank, the electricity, and all that is good, doesn't necessarily mean that house has the best resale value. I've seen homes that just in certain locations and neighborhoods, and the floor plan that it has, and the way that it's laid out, and the way that the lot is situated, that actually make it a hard sell. Wouldn't it make sense to have somebody point that out to you, just to make you aware of it? And hey, if you still want to buy the property, by all means, you buy it, but you go in with your eyes wide open. And that's the kind of relationship that you'll want when you're purchasing for the first time, especially. All right, and if you do like this video, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, because there will be more. Of course, you can like it, which I'd really appreciate too, and you can ring the bell and get notified whenever I put another one out. All right, so getting educated is so important. I can't even begin to tell you how many first-time buyers don't take the time to sit with someone like me for an hour or an hour and a half, whatever time frame you have, depending on your questions, and learn how to do this. I have done this my entire career. I've sat with first-time buyers at my office, and I've taken the time, I've walked them through a really nice visual PowerPoint, and I've shown them all of the ins and outs to buying, so they're aware of what to look for, the neighborhoods in Calgary that give the best returns, what to look for in a property in terms of different floor plans. And then, of course, it leads us to the actual offer process. All right, so when you get to that point where you're ready to make an offer, that's obviously it's the most critical point of your decision to buy. And I can tell you, working with enough first-time buyers, it's an exciting and scary moment at the same time. On one side of the coin, you really want to do this, you love the house, and on the other side of the coin, there's fears like, well, what is the market going to do? Our interest rate's going to go up. Is my job really stable? There's a lot of thoughts and feelings that go through it, and I'm here to help navigate that, or any good real estate agent is there to help navigate that for you. And many, many thousands of people have gone through this same feelings as you, so it's not uncommon. But what really helps give you the confidence is to have someone that gives you advice, that gives you that confidence you're doing the right thing. So at the offer process, of course, every buyer wants to be able to negotiate some money off the price if they possibly can. And real estate's really interesting. There's no exact price of any property. Every property is worth what someone is willing to pay, and everyone sees something different. So we want to look at some data, maybe some of the recent solds in the area, some similar properties that have sold in the last 3 months, give you a good sense of where the market is. That can be very helpful. But just remember, just because even one property similar sold for one price doesn't mean that this property you're looking at will sell at the same price or better. Things can change very quickly in real estate, and that's why we're here to help you understand that and show you where the market's going. And we can give you good advice on what a good offer price would be, and then it leads to the most important part of the negotiations. But don't underestimate this. Negotiations are very tough for most people because they struggle with how to negotiate. Some people want it to go fast, some people want it to go slow, some people have expectations the seller should come down, some people have the feeling that maybe I should just get this done and pay what they're asking because it's fair. There's no real right or wrong to it because every property sells at a different price. But having someone like me give you the advice that you need can give you the confidence to know where the market is and what a good offer price would be, and help navigate the emotions that you're going to feel as these offers come back and forth, because sometimes there is a lot of back and forth that can go on and emotions can be high. And also keep in mind there's a lot of people in the transaction. There's usually 2 buyers, 2 sellers, and 2 real estate agents. So that's a lot of people trying to come together on one price. Now, the contract itself, yeah, it can be a little bit, overwhelming when you first look at it. In Alberta, it is 6 pages long. There's a lot of terms, there's a lot of conditions. You need to understand the difference between that. A good real estate agent can give you guidance on which conditions you should put on the contract and also which terms. And believe me, there's a big difference between the two. I won't get deep into that in this video, but terms and conditions are used often, and they're a very, very big part of the contract. And so it's very, very important that you look at what terms should be placed to protect your interests and what conditions should be put on there to protect your interests. And done right, I can tell you, you can successfully buy a property and move in and have peace of mind. You can probably tell from this video that there's a lot of moving parts to real estate, and I've only touched on a few. In fact, I've even written a book on it that I would freely give to anybody who makes a request for one, so don't be afraid to reach out. So if you do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, hit the bell and get notified, and of course, it's great if you like it. I mean, that's helpful too, you hit the like button, but don't hesitate to reach out if you want to get a copy of my book. I have a digital copy. I also have a paperback copy as well. And I've got 100 pages of all kinds of information on how to successfully buy a home in Calgary.